Welcome in to DMase, Fingan, and Donick here on 102.5 The Game. Looking forward to another day of action. It's here. We're still in July.
Is it?
We're still in July. But we got to go to a football practice today, a real football practice.
Felt
Now,
so good.
it wasn't pads,
No,
but it was nice to be out there.
felt good.
It did feel good. So we got a lot of coverage to tell you about today. Willie Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Adam Vingan is on vacation today. Connor Newt was also on hand for Titans training camp practice number 1. And so he is with us as well. Connor, how are you?
Fantastic. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in 2 years, even though I just saw you about 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a scorcher out there. But I will give Connor props because he learned from last year. And I want to tell everyone that goes out to a Titan practice that is going to stand out there for 2+ hours in this extremely hot heat. Make sure you pack you a towel because my man Connor did.
I learned from the best.
Exactly. I had my towel with me. Willie said now he's going to bring a towel. So I would advise anyone that is going to come out.
I did not have a towel.
That the hat alone isn't going to work.
Well,
you got to bring a towel.
Today I felt like it was about a 7 on what I have experienced on a scale of 1 to 10 at practices.
And it was still hot.
There will be more that are just intense where you're like, how are they going to get through this practice?
I went the bucket hat route today, and it served me well. It worked well.
Give you a little shade around, all the way around.
It was nice. I took a page out of the Paul Kaharski book.
Okay. So see, that's what the youngins do. They watch the veterans, and they pick up on the veterans. He picked up on Paul. He picked up on me, bringing a towel last year. See?
The towel's a good move. I do need to take that out of your repertoire. That's a good. Tomorrow I'll have the towel.
There we go.
I did survive without the towel today. It was a good practice. Nothing extreme, no fights or anything like that. But it was something to watch, just where everybody looks after another year. New uniforms, new feel out there, new coaching staff. So did you have any first impressions about what it looked like compared to the previous regime?
It seemed a little bit more, it was just faster, I believe. Even though at the beginning it started off a little slow with the offense. But I thought in general, as a whole, I think things moved pretty quick. It seems like they were, precise and it seems like they accomplished whatever they wanted to accomplish coming out. Watching practice, it seemed like that happened. There was some good, there was some bad, there was some, in between. But I think for the most part, like you said, Willie, it was no pass today, and they're just slowly itching their way into this offseason. Well, the beginning of training camp, and then obviously the season. So that's what we'll get more in depth on certain things.
We got a lot of things we're going to touch on.
I sort of, just watching the whole practice, that's what I would come out thinking.
It wasn't a super long practice, and they're going to ramp up. He has said they're going to do as much. I did think the tempo of practice was good. Just a couple of notes. Mitch Trubisky did not practice today. He shouldn't be long before he gets back in there, but he had some overall tightness, I think is what they said. So that allowed Will Levis to take more reps. So they had 3 groups, one quarterbacked by each of the 3. You had, of course, Cam Ward with the 1s, Will Levis with the 2s, and Hendon Hooker got some reps with a 3rd team. More or less even, I would say, right?
Yes.
They didn't have too many more for the 1st team than the 3rd team, maybe 1 or 2 extra.
It didn't seem like it. No, it seemed like everything. It seemed like, the court, if you're talking about the quarterbacks, it seemed like they divvied up the reps sort of evenly. And that's what I think Saleh talked about. The reps to start off will be even as much as you possibly can. They will try guys at different spots with different units. But as you start to get into practice, as you get into, the pads, then things will start to separate themselves.
Another thing that I thought was noteworthy. Well, let's get a couple other things. Calvin Ridley did not practice. He had a virus that he's still recovering from. He lost a little bit of weight, so he was not out there either. But we are going to talk about the wide receiver position this hour. coming up in our next segment. We're going to get some of DMase's observations. After practice was over, they had Robert Saleh talk to the media. They also had Jeffrey Simmons. They had John Franklin Myers. They had Wan'Dale Robinson. And last but not least, they had Cam Ward. And I want to say this about Cam Ward's press conference. You're probably going to see some clips from a little bit here and there. I want you to put it in this context. It was 18 minutes long. And the longer a press conference goes, and I made this point, remember when Ryan Tannehill said the one little sentence when they drafted Will Levis, he said something to the effect of, I'm not going to be anybody's mentor. It was in the context of a really long press conference where he shared a lot of things that were going on in his life, trying to deal with the bad playoff game that he played against the Bengals, the soul searching he had to do. There was a lot of really meaningful stuff. And he said one thing that rubbed people the wrong way, and that was the only clip that you saw. So today, I just want to commend Cam Ward. I thought he did a very good job for a second-year guy in a press conference that long where nothing has happened yet, right? Nothing significant has really happened yet. But I thought he showed a very good command of how to do a press conference. He was asked a few questions that could have been traps that he did not fall into the trap.
No, and that's what you want from your quarterback. And that's just, that's about learning. And because, reporters, journalists, they have a job to do. And, sometimes there may be a question in there that, may try to slip you up or trip you up, or, try to get that one viral moment. And, typically guys that, understand like that second go around what the media is trying to do and how I don't want to not share things with you, but I'm going to be strategic on how I word things. So hopefully Cam moving forward, doesn't get caught in a situation where it's one of those, clip moments or viral moments because of a question that was asked. I think he's now taking his time because he understands it now. He understands what is on his shoulders, what is on his plate in front of him. How by saying one thing rather than the other, how that can become a huge story. We talk about the comment of, him being, the team being donkeys, basically. That went viral. I think he understands that, okay, I can say these things, but I got to be tactful in how I do it moving forward. Now, it may come out again some other time. I hope it doesn't, but I think he will be more tactful moving forward because he represents everybody on that team, not just as a quarterback, but what comes out of your mouth, typically is a representation of the team.
I wonder too, his perspective. He's had the series on Tubi, which I have not seen. You have seen.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And he had the quarterback role on the Netflix program. And it seems to me that he's watched him back, right? He knows how he was portrayed in those. And I wonder how that affects somebody his age, right? Like I think how it would affect anybody, but a young quarterback watching himself back. I wonder, as he evaluates, how did I come across? Is that was me? I'm just thinking how I would have done it. Like, wow, did that come out all right? Like, should I have said that? I do wonder if he's gone through that process behind the scenes.
I think when it comes to something like that, because growing up in this sport, you was taught, hey, listen, the reporters, journalists, they have a job to do, and you have a job to do as well. First and foremost, your job is to protect the team as a player. Now, we know that things are said and things are clipped, but you are a representation of the team. And I think what Cam is figuring out is I can still be myself, but the way that I articulate what is going on with the team may have to be a little bit different, but I can still be myself within that. It's about, I've always said, listen, it's not necessarily about what you say, it's how you say it to people. You know,
Yeah.
I can call you a but said in a nice way, and you may think like, man, yeah, I was being really a but. He's right or she's right.
Yeah.
So it's all about how you say things to people, and that dictates how they accept it or receive it.
And
So,
that's what you have to be
yeah.
careful about in a sports media world where you're seeing so many little tiny clips on social media or even on SportsCenter where the clip might be longer, but it could be a 5-second clip on a social media taken completely out of context. And it's hard to avoid traps all the time. I do feel like, though, he appeared comfortable. He wasn't insecure. So I continue, and I've always felt this way. I continue to feel like if he doesn't end up being a guy that lives up to all the expectations, because let's be honest, it's hard when you're picked first on a team that is as desperate as the Titans are and have been for a while, and they're still so far, it would appear, to being good. It's a lot on his shoulders. But if he doesn't get there, it won't be because he's not really thoughtful, because I do think he puts a lot of thought and effort into how am I doing my job every day. And I do think he works really, really hard. There were a lot of questions about his offseason play. He went down to Miami with some of the receivers to throw and try to bond and things like that. And that was a theme across the board with all the questions that were asked today. So I think he's doing the right things. Now, whether he ends up getting the results, we don't know. We don't know. He's got a long way to go. But I think he's going to put in the work. You agree with that?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to put in the work. But, even in putting in the work, there has to be, some type of evidence of, him getting better, the team getting better, him being a leader, him doing the things that he needs to do in order to help this team win football games. We know that realistically, it's not all. It's like he can't remedy everybody's problems. But when you're drafted that high and you are the starting quarterback of a franchise, they expect you to. And, I'm hoping that, and it seems like it, that expectation isn't going to sort of weigh on him so much that he can't go out there and prepare the way he needs to prepare and try to do the job the way it needs to be done in order to win. Like you said, Willie, it's not going to be because he didn't prepare or he wasn't a leader. If this thing doesn't work, then obviously he wasn't talented enough. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
Anything else that jumped out at you in a general sense from the first practice before we get into our next segment, which is going to be, we're going to ask DMase to give us his evaluation of Wan'Dale Robinson and Carnell Tate, the two new guys that we know are going to play a big, big role in the progression of Cam Ward and the Titans. But anything else away from that you notice from practice?
I think I continue to notice, and we will talk about this more. I think you can see or envision how they want to use Carnell Tate or how they want to use Wan'Dale Robinson in a sense. Unfortunately, Ridley wasn't out there, so you really couldn't see all three guys on the field at the same time, meaning, Tate, Ridley, and Wan'Dale. But you can get a little snapshot on how they're going to use them, what they got to work on, and we're going to talk about that too. Some things they may have to work on from, the receiver quarterback standpoint. There wasn't much from a defensive standpoint other than those guys were rotating in and out. That defensive line, and Jeffrey was asked about that, I think, from TD.
Yep.
And he gave a really good answer to that I thought was a really good answer anyway. But you saw the rotation of the defense. But outside of that, I don't think you saw, I couldn't tell you, get a snapshot of what the linebackers are going to be.
Right.
Or the defensive backs, really. There were a few plays here and there, but for the most part, I think we're going to need some more days to sort of get into that.
And I think that's important. Notice that we're not going to sit here and say Cam was X for Y in the drills and the 7-on-7. He completed this many passes. He threw a touchdown passes. I just don't think that is relevant, especially in the first practice. If it's a thing every day, it's gonna be noticeable. But we try to stay away from all of the exact results of plays that you don't know what the context of the play is. So it's more of a general sense. And of course, there's always the hey, the offense was awesome today. Well, does that mean the offense is really that good, or is the defense is just really bad? Like Trevor made an interesting prediction yesterday,
Mhm.
Trevor Maddich, that he feels like the defense and the defensive line is going to make the offense look ugly on certain days because that's where there's more talent, and especially when the practices start. Now, I don't know if we noticed that today. They weren't in pads. It wasn't, but they did have ones versus ones and things like that. So it was interesting to see it start, but nothing huge today that I would say. There were no fights. There was no significant injuries, knock on wood. It was just a good first day.
But one thing I did notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, you too, Connor, because you got there, you were there before us. And when I walked on the field, you were on the field. And I think they may have just been in warm-ups and stuff like that. But did any of, because I mentioned this to you, Willie, did anyone, because I'm used to hearing a horn, like when it's gone over 2-3 seconds, horn, you sack. Did y'all hear a horn out there at any time during practice?
I did not.
I didn't either. I think they just let him go.
Yeah, that's and maybe it's just now as they ramp it up, and maybe when they get into practice, it's get into pads, it'll be something different. But I'm so accustomed to hearing that sort of shot clock go off.
Right. In other words,
field.
In a real game, if the ball isn't out by the time this horn goes, you're going to be sacked, or the play is going to be
you're going to be running around.
It's a scramble drill at that point.
Absolutely. And I just took notice of that because there was one instance where I felt like, is he gonna throw the ball?
Right. Right.
But that's, again, it could have just been today, but that is something I noticed, and I wonder if that's going to be a pattern moving forward.
We'll keep an eye on that. We're broadcasting for the Busy Bee Heating and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. When we come back, our Titans training camp coverage continues. We'll get DMase through the wide receiver translator. We'll talk about the new guys, Wan'Dale Robinson and Carnell Tate. Stay tuned. We're getting started here on DVD. Oh, you're speaking our language now. We've had the 2000s, the 90s, and now the 80s in our musical themes this week. And our theme this week is Guess the Year. So I assume that's in play. Now, Connor, of all people, is the quiz master, and he's trying to throw it right down the middle to us. If we don't hit it out of the park today, DMase, I don't know what's wrong.
So what years are we going?
What's
Connor? What are our years? Our multiple choice.
I mean, it's a very broad category across all 9 years of the 80s.
Okay.
So you think we should just be able to get the year?
You should, but if you want specific years, I can do that.
I think we can get it without choices. I think.
Okay. Beat it.
Now the question is it when the single was released or when the album was?
I'm going
released?
based off album.
Off the album.
Thriller.
Well, that's Beat It off of Thriller. I mean, this should be just a warm up. This should be like a batting practice fastball.
Ooh.
So Beat It. Beat It came out as a single in '83, but I believe the album was released
84?
still in '82. In '82, yeah.
You got it right. 82.
I mean, that one is hard to. I mean, that is right
I'm
down.
trying to
Main
figure. Okay,
Street.
Off the Wall was before
Off the
that
Wall
one, was right before
that was
like
79.
79,
Yeah,
80.
it was 79, 80, and then
That was one of the
Beat It.
first tapes
Yeah.
I ever had. Now I'm really dating myself. I had the tape.
Yeah.
For
Then
Off
it
the
was
Wall.
Beat It. Then it was
Thriller, and
Thriller,
then Bad was 89.
It took a
I think.
little
Yeah,
break
89.
there.
Yeah.
I was Bad was more like 87.
Yeah,
87.
you're right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. See, you
Because
can't
I can remember we
give away
made the comeback. But if we saw, if you saw the movie too, you can remember what
of
happened
course.
there. He had to go away for a little while.
Yeah, because he
got
burned his hair. Yeah. With the whole Coca-Cola.
And his
thing.
dad was driving him crazy, which was
Man,
always the case.
That's an understatement,
Oh
probably.
boy. Oh boy. All right, we digress. Let's get back to our coverage of Titans training camp. It's presented by Tennessee Brew Works, Parman Energy, and the Music City kickoff game. So today we wanted to get your expertise. The first impression of the new guys. I thought Wan'Dale Robinson was enjoyable to listen to. Seems to have a really good disposition, but I had never seen him on a field before. I'd only seen him on TV and with the clips and all of that. We know his production. We know his stats. We know what he brings to the table. But I got to tell you, DMase, and he's probably heard this his whole life. He's probably always been told this.
So it's not the first time.
It's not the first. So I'm not saying anybody hasn't noticed, but he's smaller than I even realized. Like I knew he was an undersized receiver, but if he walked into let's say a gym for pickup basketball, and the people in there, if I went up to somebody who didn't know him and said, that's an NFL wide receiver right there. He plays for the Tennessee Titans. He's coming from the Giants. He had 90 something catches. He had over 1,000 yards. I think you would have a hard time convincing people at first glance that that's the case. He doesn't look like, his height, number one, but it's not like he's just built like a house either. He's just like a regular looking guy, but he has the get it done tivity. But what did he look like to you the first day?
You're right. He is. When you see someone on television, and listen, I'm not the biggest person either, so I'm not going to sit here and.
But let's be honest, you look like Wemby.
Yeah, I'm like Wemby compared to him. Yeah, but when you see someone on television, you get a different perspective than possibly how they truly look in person. You think a guy's bigger, maybe a little taller, because I've heard that a lot. Oh man, I thought you was much bigger than what you are. I'm like, nah, small guy, man, 185 pounds, 5'11", 5'10", 5'11". So it's not like I'm huge, but I understand what people say, because when I do look at myself on television, I do look bigger, and other guys look bigger, and I'm like, oh, that guy's not that big. But Wan'Dale Robinson, it's a contrast from what you may have seen on television and how he looks on the field than how he actually looks in person. And again, like you said, Willie, he's been told this all his life. Before he got to Kentucky, while he was at Kentucky, as the draft was going on, and this young man has done nothing but go out and prove that he belongs. And you have to admire that in a player. My thing is, how will he be used? Because I in watching practice, you sort of you jot down small things, not to say that it's going to sort of formulate your thought moving forward on everything, but it's just like a jotting down something. Like, I'm just going to take notice of this and put it on the side, and if it ever comes up again, then okay, we can revisit that again. But I'm not sure how they're going to get the ball to him down the field. I don't, and that's like a real question. Like 5 yards,
It's a matter
7
of
yards,
physics.
exactly.
Yeah.
5 yards. He's shown that he can, his quickness, because he even talked about a little bit his quickness, him separating from other guys. He likes playing against bigger guys, and I felt the same way too, because my superpower is my ability to separate from you from point A to point B. My ability to drop my hips and get it out of my break. I am quicker. You may be bigger. In fact, I am quicker than you. So he uses that to his advantage. But I'm wondering, like, how are they serious? Are they thinking we're going to use this guy down the field? Or is he just going to be the third down guy, or a guy that gets you to 3rd and 3 because he's picked up 4 or 5 yards on a quick slant or something like that? Now, again, he's going to be able to catch these underneath passes. He's going to be able to make a guy miss, and he's going to be able to go. Is that his game, yard after catches? No, it's not. It hadn't been the last couple of years. So I'm just wondering, are they truly envisioning him as being just, a guy that we can use on every level, from the line of scrimmage to 5 yards, from 5 yards to 10, from 10, to possibly 15 to 20? Are they going to be able to use him on those crossing routes when those bigger guys, and when the offensive line is blocking everything? That's what I'm wondering. And listen, I'm not saying anything that I'm sure Dabo has not already figured out and thought about, because he's had him on his team, and
Yes.
they've made a way for it to work. But in this offense, with what's around him, is he just going to be the 5 yard guy or the 7 yard guy?
That I think it's a great question, and it was noticeable today in the limited amount of reps that just happened in one practice. But it's easy to lose him on throws down the field. I think you made this point a couple times as we watched the play. We were watching from the end zone as they were working on the red zone. And when he's out in space, you say the same thing, I think, about Tajay Spears, right? You're like, that's where they want to get him the ball.
Exactly.
And he's shifty. He's gonna, and he even said it today in his press conference. He said he was asked about 3rd down. There was a lot of questions about efficiency on 3rd down. He says, well, I feel like that's where I make my money, is 3rd down. And so that's going to be a big strength. But in the red zone, for example, it doesn't seem like that's where he's going to flourish. Like, he only had 4 touchdowns last year, only 3 the year before, 1 the year before that. So it seems evident there are ways to use him effectively, and there are ways that you have to hope they have other ways of beating you, and they're not relying too much on him. So make the point. Tell me what routes we're talking about in the red zone in particular. Some of the plays that jumped out at you where you're like, wow, that's not where they need other ways to get into the end zone.
They tried to throw him. Was it him? I think they tried to throw him a quick seam in the end zone or corner route. And it was just, you saw that it had to be either he had to be wide open or it has to be a perfect throw, because the lack of, vertical, whatever you want to call it, that he doesn't have in such a short space, meaning the red zone. Everything gets compact in the red zone. So what is going to be his red zone presence? Like you said, he's not a touchdown guy. He is, in his young career, he hasn't been a touchdown guy. So is he just going to be a chain mover? And then once you get in the red zone, are you going to go to DK? Are you going to go to Alec, one of those guys, and put him in a slot? I don't know. Maybe they both figures this out, because what he did in New York is going to be a little bit different from what he does here, because he had to do that alone without a Neighbors. Neighbors was injured. So he had to do that without Neighbors, and he got a lot of the attention, and he got a lot of it was volume with him. He's not going to have that volume. So either the production isn't going to be what it once was, or we're going to see, which I think may end up being the best of, both worlds in a sense, is that he will be low volume, but the situations will be higher for him. Like, he's not going to get the ball all the time, but he's going to get the ball when we need it, third down. Can you then take that 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, catch it, and then get us an extra 4, 5, 6 yards? Or are you just going to catch it and fall down?
That was one thing that I had written down is, in a perfect world, will he be targeted less than he has before? He has been targeted 140 times. Remember, the relevance of this is because Dable was calling the plays, and he's going to be calling the plays here. Different quarterback, different team. But he has been targeted 140 times each of the last 2 years, and he's caught 93 and then 92. He had a lot more yards last year. He had over 1,000. Of course, after Malik Neighbors got hurt, it probably put more onus on him maybe working outside of his comfort zone. But the other thing that Aaron Schatz circled about Robinson is he tends to have a lot of catches, but a lot of catches that also don't get the job done. They're unsuccessful. So the tag, and it's not a positive tag, the failed reception king. He led wide receivers with 34 catches that didn't gain enough yards to be a, quote, success by their definition. And the way you do that is on first down. If it's 1st and 10, you have to get at least 4 yards to consider it a success. It's 4 or more. So if you get 2, it's a completion, it's a catch, but it's not getting you where you eventually want to go. On 2nd down, it's got to get you at least half of the yards. So if it's 2nd and 10, the reception to be successful by that definition is you got to get at least 5 yards. And then on 3rd down, whether it's 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 15, you have to move the chains. So you can have if it's 3rd and 15 and you make a nice 12-yard catch, well, that's not successful because you got to punt.
Exactly.
So he had more catches like that than anybody else in the league. Now, he had a lot of catches. So he had a lot of catches that were good, but 34 was the most. So that's not efficient. So I'm wondering what that looks like with Tate on the team, with Ridley on the team, and with Cam being the quarterback.
I think you're going to get, because last year he averaged right at 11 yards per catch. And for a slot receiver, that's about average, for a good slot receiver to be in between that, 10 and 12 yards. He was right at 11. So in the year before that, he wasn't even in double digits, I don't believe, receptions. But a lot of that goes to what you said. He was targeted a lot last year. He had 392 yards of yak, which is okay for a 1,000-yard receiver, but when you're talking elite receivers, it's much higher than that. And listen, he did the job that was asked of him to do last year. You just wonder, how does that translate to this Tennessee Titans with Calvin Ridley, with Carnell Tate, with Alec Almanor or DK, whichever one of those guys are out there? How will that translate this season? I do believe that, even though I think they're going to, because there was the one pass that I was talking about to Cam down the field to Wandale, it had to be a perfect pass. It ended up being a misfire, but it had to almost be a perfect pass because of the lack of height.
Yeah, he just doesn't have a big radius.
Yeah, you sort of lost him in the shuffle, and you're trying to put it in a perfect area that he can go and get it, and he couldn't do it. Now, the more and more they rep that, I'm sure they will get better at, or at least Cam will get better at finding Waddell on those deep crossing routes or whatnot like that. But I think the best thing for him, and I think the best thing for this offense, is something that you said, Willie, is the volume has to be lower than what it has been. I think you targeting him 140 times. He's not your primary receiver. He's not.
Yeah, I hope it's not that high. Honestly.
Exactly.
That will not be good, I don't think, if he's in that neighborhood again.
No. Unless he, 12, 1,300 yards, 1,400
right.
yards.
If he does something different than he's done before, then fine. Keep getting him the ball. But if he is who he is, then that's not the mark of a really productive, efficient offense. 'Cause let's keep
Exactly.
in mind, he got those numbers, but it was on a team that wasn't very good.
Exactly. He needs to be. His thing isn't volume. His thing is efficiency.
Yes.
How efficient can you be? Because again, I don't envision him being targeted 140 times unless people get hurt. I am envisioning it somewhere around 100, 110, maybe somewhere around there. But you got to be efficient in those. Give him room to operate in space so then he can catch the ball and turn up the field. So his yard per catch may be higher, maybe at its highest that it's ever been. Oh, it's going to translate to that. No, I just think hopefully the way they use them, and then you figure Tate is going to, be a guy that is going to command a lot of receptions. Calvin Ridley, so the wealth will be spread, but you hope that when you have to throw him the ball, it's in those moments where they're big plays and not just always, on first down and you getting 3 yards here and there. No.
When we come back, we'll talk about what they did, what the quarterback and the receivers did before training camp started to bond the relationship, and we're going to get into Carnell Tate, and he did not address the media today, but we'll give you our observations of what happened today in his first practice. Stay tuned. DVD is continuing here on 102.5 The Game.
What's a harsh critique from Cam like?
Catch the damn ball. But if he does throw a bad pass, I'll say, throw a better ball.
DVD continues here on 102.5 The Game. We're continuing with our training camp coverage. You can always join us on our phone or text line at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We got a little 80s theme today. That's Def Leppard. DMase, I know that this is when I was in high school, so we're going late 80s here.
So this is 88.
It's going to be 87, 88. I'm going to say it's going to be one of those two. Again, when was okay? So the album, the album
is Hysteria.
got to be 87. Then got to be 87.
DMase?
I'm gonna go with my boy Willie. Yeah, I'm gonna go with my boy Willie. Yeah.
You had it for a second. You were like, "That's 88," and I was about to hit the loser music. But way to pivot.
That album was popular for a long time. So there was a lot of the singles that were
So
in
the album
top.
and song came out in 87.
Believe so.
Okay.
One of my favorite albums ever.
That's a good one.
Okay.
So you heard that clip from Wan'Dale Robinson about the interaction. He mentioned just sort of off the cuff that he likes Cam Ward. He commands things. He's not afraid to shoot you straight, he said. And Paul Kuharski said, well, what's an example of him shooting you straight? And he said, he quoted, he said, catch the ball, catch the damn ball.
Yeah.
And he said, and I'm going to go back at him. Throw a better ball. But you know how that works,
Yeah.
DMase. You don't want it to be uncomfortable, right? You want it to be a healthy back and forth, intense, competitive, and trying to get to the same place. But so how does that work?
I think the way it works is time. Building a relationship, because that just doesn't start day one. It doesn't. It starts with, constant reps and learning a player and spending time with that player. And then, that relationship is built and that respect is built. So when I come at you like that, it's not to, make you look bad or demean you or anything. It's hey, pick it up. Let's go. You know who was famous for that? Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, he had that demeanor like Cam. Steve was a little bit different, and again, different strokes for different folks. If you want to lead this way, you can, as long as it's effective and it's helping everyone. In a way Steve led, it was effective and it helped everyone. Cam chooses to lead a little bit more verbally at times. Joe Flacco was the same way. Once he got his feet underneath him, he would tell you, like, if he was, not pleased about something. But it was always a healthy respect. We say what we say, then we make it right, we move on. Because ultimately what is happening, because if you mess up too many times, the receiver don't have to say anything, nor does the quarterback, because the coach will make the determination whether you're on the field or not. So it's either you get it together and we're on this field together and we do this together, or one of us or both of us are going to be off the field and somebody else will be doing it. So you got to have that healthy respect for your teammates, especially when it comes to wide receivers and quarterbacks, because wide receivers are always taught, make the quarterback look good, no matter what. Make them look good. If it's a bad pass, you got to go out and find a way to. Now, every pass is not catchable, but you have to make the effort. So you won't see a lot of times wide receivers going back at quarterbacks, but you will see a quarterback say something to a wide receiver, especially if he didn't run the right route, he wasn't where he's supposed to be when he was supposed to be there, or if the quarterback felt it was a catchable ball, you didn't, and you dropped it on third down, or you've dropped 2 or 3. It's like, come on, man, pick it up, catch the damn ball. So, but I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's a relationship that they're building. And this is Cam Ward. It's not like Cam started off one way and then all of a sudden in the second season, he wants to have this. No, he was this way day one, and he's going to continue to be this way. And Jeffrey Simmons talked about it. Wan'Dale's mentioned it. they respect him for that.
How was your relationship with Steve McNair that way? Could he get on you and you would be, all right, I need to pick it up if he's getting on me?
Yeah, if he needed
he
to
seemed to pick his spots more, right?
Yeah, he picked his spots, and he did it in such a way that, it was trying to understand. Like, come on, why? Like, what is the why? Come on, let's go. We need it. He was always trying to figure out that. He didn't come in and demean you or anything else. He would leave that for Heimerdinger to do or another coach. But Steve would come back because he was so locked in. He would come back and try to make a way to make it right the next play. And not to say that Cam isn't going to do that or Joe didn't do that, but Steve he wasn't a vocal guy. We had plenty leaders on that team, and they all led in their different way. Eddie was the more vocal guy. Steve wasn't. It seems like Cam and Jeffrey are more vocal. It doesn't seem like John Franklin Myers is going to be that vocal guy. He's going to be, hey, I'm leading by example. If I need to say something, I will. But I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to, wherever you put me, coach, I'm going to play and I'm going to play hard. And if I have to say something, I will. But other than that, I'm just going to go out there and do my job and try to make everybody better.
We're going to get to that a little bit later, but I liked what I heard from him. They talked about the rapport of building chemistry. This is a second-year quarterback with 2 new wide receivers. So speaking of new guys, give us your thoughts on what you saw from Carnell Tate today.
I think the kid's going to be good. There was no what I would call wild plays. Now, he did show the reason why he could potentially be a threat in the red zone. Cam threw him a pass down the middle. I think it was sort of like a corner out in the end zone, and he went up. I forgot the DB.
I think it was Winston.
It may have went Winston. Yeah, he went up over Winston, and
I like how Winston looks out
caught
there
it.
too.
Yeah, and caught it. But that's what they envision. Those. Okay, you open, but it's going to be tight, and we expect you being 6'3", the ability to jump the way you athletic as you are. We expect you to go up and get it. And he went up and got it today. Now, every day, every practice isn't going to be that. You hope it is. But that is one of the reasons why I think they feel good about Carnell Tate, because he gives them something they didn't have over the last 2 years since A.J. Brown left, is a guy that can go up and get the contested passes, a guy that can run every route in the route tree, a guy that you can put everywhere on the field, and he's going to hopefully make something happen. Now, listen, he got a long way to go. But you take note of these things that he's doing. You don't say, "Oh, he went up and got a pass. Oh, he's gonna be the next great Ohio State receiver in the NFL." No, you hope that happens, and it looks like it has more of a potential of happening than not. But you chart these down, you put them in your back pocket, and as you start to see more and more of that, then it's like, okay, he was doing this early. Okay, so it ain't no thing that he's doing it now, and you sort of get a snapshot of what Cam is going to be thinking moving forward, especially in the red zone.
There was one play that you just referred to where he went up and just ate the ball, just gobbled it up. And it was contested, but he made it look pretty easy. That I was impressed with that. But earlier in that same period, there was a route that it was right under the goalpost. It was designed to, it was a high heater, which we see Cam throw all the time. But in that area of the field, you can't throw an interception.
No.
By overthrowing somebody. So you throw it right under the crossbar, and you figure the big guy is going to go get it. Yeah. But you didn't think he ran the route quite the way he could have in that one.
I didn't. I think he pulled up just and again, this is
and Winston was back there. It was a big, strong safety.
Yeah. It's a compact area. It's the red zone. There's a lot of bodies around. What I observed from where I was standing is a guy that was unsure, a quarterback that had a spot he wanted to throw the ball because he felt that was the only sort of open spot he can throw it to. But a receiver that was unsure, a receiver that did the mistake you cannot do as a receiver and peek over at who's on the other side, meaning who's at that back end of the end zone defense-wise, Who is that guy? You can't worry about who's over there. You trust that the quarterback is going to throw the ball where you may get hit, but it's not going to be, some hit that is going to put you out. And the NFL protect guys now. So,
Yeah.
You throw it in a
So you
spot.
can be a little more bold.
Exactly. And what I observed was a guy, one that wasn't quite sure where to go in his route. And then he peeked and saw the safety over there. Cam threw it to a spot. When you're a receiver, you got to run to that spot. Now, again, that comes with reps. That comes with running more and more plays in the red zone, because they're going to have another situation or 2 or 5 just like this, where they're in the red zone. He's trying to fit it in that tight space, because of red zone. There's nothing but tight spaces in the red zone. So he's going to get another opportunity to be able to look back on what he didn't do and possibly do something different this go around.
And I think that's a great example of, you need to do that a few times, and it needs to be incomplete sometimes. You have to work on that. So don't just look at, well, Cam Ward today in practice was 8 for 12, and it was this, and how many intercept. You're working on a play like that. That's a great example. Throw it. Like he could have maybe not thrown it, and it won't go down on Jim Wyatt's tally or whatever, but it's practice. So, and Aaron Rodgers was on record the other day saying that.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to work on stuff, try stuff. Have incompletions in practice, make mistakes in practice. That way you know what you can do and what you can't do.
And coming out of Aaron Rodgers' mouth, I'm going to take it as gold, because he is one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it.
All right, when we come back, we'll throw a little change of pace at you. We want to talk about the stadium thing that they came out. I don't know, it was some ESPN guys having fun when it comes down to it. But we'll get back into some of the nuts and bolts of the first practice in the 4 o'clock hour. But I want to address the Titans Stadium was the second worst. First of all, how is it not the worst? Come on.
But anyway, it wasn't the worst.
There's one worse.
Yes.
There was in their mind. It was just an unofficial subjective poll. But we're going to talk about it for a minute and have some fun with it. Stay tuned. We're talking a little Titans training camp, and this is DVD 1025 The Game. DMase, Svingen, and Donick coming your way. Hour number 2, day 1, Titans training camp on the field. The gang was all there. It was like the first day of school. DMase, I walked out to the field. I see everybody from the media. You and I talked to Teresa Walker,
Yes.
Congratulated her on her
Congratulations
announcement. This
to
will be her 30th and final season. So
we're gonna have her on
she
at
said
some
she
points when her schedule
Yes.
clears up, because everybody wants to talk to her.
Yes, everybody wants to talk to Teresa. And she said, I need a PR person. She said, she needs a booking person. She's a very popular member of the media right now, deservedly so.
Mhm.
But everybody was out watching the team. The public was not able to watch today, but it was great to see the guys out there.
Mhm.
Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Connor Newt with you, Adam Vingan on vacation. Although he was, let's be honest, he had trouble staying away from us.
Yeah, he did.
He knew Titans practice was going on. He was texting us a few tidbits. Yeah. He's like,
Willie, he's still a rookie at this.
and it's like, and he also mentioned, by the way, an enormous contract for Macklin Celebrini.
Yes,
who gets
Woo,
18.8 million from the Sharks for 5 years. So he's the new guy who is the highest paid player,
Mhm.
surpassing Leo Carlson.
Which he signed that deal last month?
That was So he's the highest paid guy for a month. So Leo's probably like, thanks, Macklin. Take the pressure off of me a little bit. I'm not the guy anymore. But Celebrini, much more deserving, I think, of a contract like that. It was only for 5 years and not 8. But Adam was texting that. I texted to the group not knowing that Adam had already texted that. And he's like, hey, I already said that. I was like, you're on vacation.
Yes, exactly.
Go to the pool. Go to the water slide.
Really wants that credential from me.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, can you get my credential? It's like, why are you thinking about work?
Like, just relax, man.
Relax,
Read a
with your
book.
Get
Well, if
away
he's
from it.
listening,
Sit on the
it's
bench,
sitting on my
in
desk
the
waiting for
park.
you.
Okay. We got you covered, Adam. It's
Enjoy
okay.
your time off, Adam.
We do appreciate him
but we love
caring about the show. He does because he cares, but we're just needling. But anyway, he'll be back with us on Monday. And we did have a little fun the other day. We watched this thing. It's always fun to get outside perspective on how people view your city, your market, the organizations in your market. So ESPN did a fun thing. I don't know if it's fun. I think they did the top 5 stadiums, but they also did the bottom 5 NFL stadiums. And let's be honest. It was never great, Nissan Stadium, but especially now where all of the focus is on the new stadium that you can now really see taking shape. Like you can see the outline of it. It is coming together. And one more year, you got to get through it. But in the meantime, they've done absolutely nothing to make it appealing to go to the current stadium, which is going to be their home for a whole nother year. It's brutal right now. So I think this is an upset, actually, that it was not deemed the worst stadium. So it was the second worst. Only Washington in their stadium is considered worse. But here's what the ESPN guys said about it. So I'm always just curious, people that probably don't watch the Titans play a whole lot, but this is their impression of Nissan Stadium currently.
Marty, let's get to
number 2.
Nissan Stadium. So Nissan Stadium has concrete structural issues.
Yeah.
I got that as a safety hazard. I'm no OSHA.
It used to be a great stadium.
Have you been?
I have been. But yes, it has not aged well. Right? Like some stadiums age well, like NRG Stadium in Houston, like that was built over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That is a stadium that they have continued to like make sure like, hey, this thing is up to par. Ford Field in Detroit, another good example.
Now there's a new stadium coming. They're expected to either wrap up or break ground, something in February 2027. Yes. So help is on the way in Nashville. But number 1.
So that's what they had to say.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of things that jumped out at me.
Okay.
It hasn't aged well. By the way, he said something like they're either going to break ground or have it done. Well, that's quite a bit different. One's at the very beginning and one's at the very end. He did get it right at the end. It's going to be open supposedly at the beginning of 2027. But the co-host there said, I've been there, and it used to be a great stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I go that far. But one thing that when he said that I agree with, because it hasn't aged well, but isn't that somewhat the tenant? I know it's a partnership between the city and the team, but I'm torn on this because I think they got what they wanted. They almost let it age poorly,
Mhm.
so that they could sit there and go, oh, this is aging poorly. We got to get a new stadium. You know,
so
and-
said that's a trick.
I think that's the trick. And now I'm happy because the new facility is, because it's got a roof, is going to open up. I mean, I don't think
Mhm.
we get the Super Bowl without the roof and the new stadium. I think we're going to be in the picture for a Final Four. I think we're going to get it at some point. We're going to have some great events because we are going to have a modern, up-to-date thing. But I'm a little bit bummed on one level because I do think that stadium, while it was always built with the idea that it was going to be pretty basic, I think if they had reinvested in it over and over, and I forget which stadium the gentleman said in the clip there about a stadium that has aged much better.
Mhm.
The way to do that is to keep pumping money into it. If you do it, it could have grown with the times.
Yeah, if you would have, truly, went in and did a whole scale renovation, then obviously, yeah. But I would tend to push back a little bit because it was great, from 99 to 2004. It was
Right.
The stadium was
And now,
great.
in fairness, that was when it
Um,
was brand new. It's
exactly.
hard for a brand new stadium to be bad right out of the gate. It was at its
Exactly. So,
best at that point.
I just think
It's
over
like
the
when you
year,
get a brand new car. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a brand new car. It
I love
smells,
it. Then
smells
after a
new.
while,
It's
if
running
you don't
great.
take care of it, it becomes
Exactly.
a brand new old car after
Yeah.
a while. But I mean, they have over the years, and I'm sure they put a lot of money in there. Maybe not as much as we may think they should have put into it, but they did make some renovations throughout the years. But I think they never could get it to a point where that stadium was going to be so remodeled and everything else that it was going to be considered one of the newer stadiums, one of the stadiums, that state of the art stadium. So they eventually felt they needed a new stadium, and they're getting a new one. So, but over the last course of the 2 years, when you knew, oh, we're getting a new stadium, how much money do you want to put in an old stadium? You just want to make sure that the stadium is not collapsing, that things are not just totally ran down, and it's still a place where fans could come in.
I've never
listen,
worried.
enjoy it. Now, if they were winning, it would have been a different story. It would have been a whole different. At least from the
that's the
perspective
what if for
of
me.
yeah, you're right. But at least from the perspective of the stadium not being up to date, because when you're not winning, then I got to come to the stadium every day, and I got to. Not only is my team bad, but it's like, man, now I'm really identifying all the things that's going on wrong in this building. But when you're winning, nobody. It's like, okay, we can deal with it.
The winning helps. There's no
Uh-huh.
question about it. But I have just never felt the character of that stadium. Now you're right. When you were playing there and it was new,
That was a
and
place
the
to
team
play.
and the team was winning. It was the newness of it. That is what gave it the character.
That was a home
It was
field
but
advantage.
it was the people. It wasn't the stadium. And that and then when the stadium started to age, that's where I think the effort that you put in there, the people that you hire to work there, the people that you hire to keep it fresh with the game presentation, that's what goes into whether you get on that list or not. So it didn't surprise me at all that they're on the list. I was surprised they weren't the worst, especially now with all the construction around the stadium. You got to really love the team to want to go there right now.
Here's a
And
question.
it's a bummer. Like, and look, I'm enough of a fan. Like, people used to rip on Greer Stadium all the time in the final years with the guitar, because it was all about trying to get the new place. And I was enough of a baseball fan. I'll go watch
You're a
baseball.
purist.
Yeah,
You
I'll
just
go
love
watch. I'm going to
baseball.
watch the NFL. I'm all right with it. But if you really want a place that people enjoy going and will stick with you when times aren't good, you got to make it inviting. I hope that they keep that in mind, because they're going to go through this whole thing with the new stadium.
Do
For the
you
first
think-
5 years, it's going to be beautiful.
No.
It's going to be like, oh, look at this new place. It's awesome. But if they don't put effort into it and they do the minimum, which I always think they have, then the new place is going to look, it is going to run down. It's going to age, and the same stuff will happen if they don't have a better attitude about it. That is my soapbox for the day.
I don't think that the new stadium, obviously, when they move into it, I wonder after that year, after the first inaugural year, how will they rank that stadium when they come out with their rank? Because they do this every season, just about, ranking stadium. So where will it be then? But then here's the thought: like you said, 5 years or 10 years. I think what will be in place will outlast 10 years. The electronics and all that other stuff. I think it will outlast the 10 years. And maybe I'm not around to see all this. What happens in another 40 years? Like, what do you do with the stadium? Like,
I'll let you know.
That's a great
well,
point.
I plan on being here in another 30 years.
A city can't sit here and say, I'm going to build you a new stadium every 30 years. It doesn't work like that. You have to take care. This should be the lesson. Because, look, we didn't have any teams at the time that they made the deal with Bud Adams.
But
so it's like, we got to get this thing up, and we got to get it.
Were not that prevalent then.
No. And so I'm giving them a pass for that. It was like, we got to get a stadium up. How do we do this without Phil Bredesen was the guy that had to think this up. Like, I got to do something nice enough to get Bud Adams out. I got to give him a good deal. And so I'm not in a position of bargaining. We want to change Nashville for the better. We want to bring this here. So I've got to concede that I'm not going to leverage Bud Adams out of there. So I got to give him a good deal to get him out of Houston. So I get that. And so the stadium was built with kind of minimum resources. We knew it wasn't going to be the nicest stadium in the league, but like you said, it served its purpose early. But the Titans from there never said, you know what? I had a really good deal. We're going to make this the best stadium possible for what we have to work with. Instead, it was a lot of, well, I don't know about the structure. We need this. We're going to do the minimum. It was all about doing the minimum. And then after it aged poorly, which we would all agree it has, now we've got to have a new stadium. And fortunately, they won that battle. But I feel like the city and hopefully the Titans will learn from, okay, let's do this right, and let's not have this stadium, quote, age poorly. Your stadium and your facility, they don't have to age poorly. If you put effort into it moving forward, and a lot of that is on the team. Don't just go to the city. The city's got a lot of things going on, right? You're lucky to be in this city. NFL owners usually don't look at it that way. They usually go the opposite.
Exactly.
You, the city, are lucky to have us here, the NFL. I hate that attitude. Be a part of the community and invest in your own home and make it where people want to go. You're going to benefit from that.
And I think they see that now. Not to say that, at the time they didn't see it, but I think as you start to move forward and you see other, teams building new stadiums and teams that, built new stadium 3 or 4 years ago, how they're taking care of their stadium and how much money it took to build it. You always listen, it cost them over $1 billion to build this stadium. Not them alone, but the price tag is over $1 billion, I believe. So you want to make sure that once you get into this building, that you make sure you take care of it. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that there will be in place to help make that task a little bit easier. I'm not going to say it's easy at all, because running a place that big has to be difficult. But if you put things in place on the front end, it makes it easier to sort of transform with the times. If you build a stadium that is able to, as each year go, you're able to sort of change some things without doing, tearing things down. And a lot of it is a lot of times electronical, from electronics and a Wi-Fi and all this other stuff.
Sure.
So as long as things are in place to make sure that they can add on to and expand without doing some, huge
do it gradually.
Yes, exactly.
And not all in one. Well, we haven't done anything for the last 10 years, so now we need $1 billion or $500 million, whatever it is.
But you always got to retrofit, I think, newer buildings with the capability to be able to, advance, so to speak, as the time goes. You just don't want to build a building and say, there's no way we can retrofit this building at all.
Well, one thing that is going to be different it is going to be way more expensive to go to games in the new stadium. So I think there will be a demand from the people paying the money. If I'm going to pay this, let's keep it a nice place to go. But that will be the challenge going forward. But in the meantime, somehow Nissan Stadium in its last year is not the worst stadium. It's the second worst. So I've never been to a game in Washington at their place, but that has got to be really bad to be below Nissan Stadium in its current state, because nobody has lifted a finger to help Nissan Stadium, knowing that it's kind of a lame duck in the last couple of years. All right, we'll get back to what happened on the field today at the first practice. We'll get DMase's take on Jeffrey Simmons and John Franklin Myers, a couple of guys that addressed the media today. We got our first look at what a Robert Saleh defense looks in front of you on the field. We'll get DMase's observations. Stay tuned. You're listening to DVD here on 102.5 The Game.
This transition that you're making tend to fall forward early. Have you felt that different gravity, let's say?
I mean, I like when I left here, I knew what to expect. I knew what type of defense that I'm coming back to play and get ready for training camp. So, yeah, when I'm working on my get off in my first 2 steps with my training off season, yeah, I'm like, oh man, I almost fell. But it's like I said, I've been getting off the football, getting out of 3-point stand, doing the get off since. I've been playing D line since 8th grade. I've been doing. It's just a different mind. I wouldn't even say a different mindset. It's just faster. Everything in this defense and this style of play is fast and violent. We hear it, we talk about it, and that's what this white cotton, the command and the individual, you guys see it, y'all over there. It's from top down. That's what they preaching in the building, and it's up to us to hold that standard up, and that's continue to get off the ball. So, like I said, it's nothing new. Even when last year defense is still get off the rock. So, like I said, it's just a couple different tweaks.
Okay. That was Jeffrey Simmons. We're back here on DVD. We're going to interpret that quote here in just a moment, talk about Jeffrey Simmons and his first day on the job in his 8th season. But we have to address the year of this song. This is Eagles. And we know the Eagles broke up in the early 80s. So that's a clue.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, DMase.
Hold on. Let me guess.
You take your guess first.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm going to.
I would say 82.
Should I reveal DMase's
Or you
response
wanna
or just
say
let
yours?
Willie go?
Or you want to say yours?
I'm going to say it's even earlier. I'm going to say 1980 for that one.
One of you is correct.
Why are you looking at Willie?
DMase, you're wrong.
You had already looked at Willie.
But we're a team. We're a team.
Yes.
Which means
We got it right.
Willie is 3
Hey,
for 3 on that day.
this is a scramble. Okay,
It's a scramble. It's best
like
ball.
family
Best
feud.
ball.
It's
Exactly.
family feud.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have not missed one yet.
No.
There you go.
Okay. Jeffrey Simmons today. By the way, our Titans training camp coverage is presented by, as always, Tennessee Brew Works, Parman Energy, and the Music City Kickoff game. The Music City Kickoff game is Ole Miss versus Louisville at Nissan Stadium on September the 6th. Get your tickets today at NashvilleSports.com. I thought Jeffrey Simmons, number one, he's in really good shape. Robert Saleh said he looks yoked, is what he said. He said, if I looked like him, I would go shirtless as often as I possibly could. And Robert Saleh is in pretty good shape. I have to say he is a Mr. Fitness.
He looks like he can go. He can give you 2 or 3
So
plays.
game recognizing game.
Exactly. Jeffrey said something, and maybe we have the clip or not, because I forgot who asked him about coming in better condition, or how do you feel? Do you feel you coming into training camp? How do you feel physically? And Jeffrey mentioned he lost another 10 pounds. I'm
He
like,
did.
damn, Jeff, that's 20 pounds over 2 years, ain't it? Or
I
close
have it
to
if you
it.
want to hear it.
He's
Please.
still listed at 300.
Exactly.
So
I'm like,
that was the Eagles.
Sorry.
yeah,
The
that was
Eagles
the Eagles.
came back.
Okay.
The Eagles came back.
But yeah, so he did mention, he just kind of tossed it in there.
Yeah,
I've
it
lost
was
10
like
more pounds, but he said he feels great.
Uh-huh.
And so he went into detail about what all went into that.
Earlier this summer, you said that you wanted to be in the best shape of your life. How are you feeling physically going to this?
I feel great. I feel great. I lost probably 10 from last season. I'm in shape. Being able to. Even if I'm not in shape, you're gonna get in shape at practice. With White Cotton, he wanted us running 3 stripe. Wherever the ball at, we got to run 3 stripes. You gotta see how we work in individual. But I did come into this camp with that mindset of is get off, and get out the stat, get to the ball. So my goal wasn't necessary to just lose more weight. It was just how can I get in better shape with the condition and things of that nature. Like I said, my diet and none of that changed, because I had a great plan last offseason coming into the season, and I just stuck with that. So like I said, I do feel great physically and mentally. That's one thing that I've been really, really focused on more, especially with personal things that are going on in my life and family. I think sometimes we forget that. Especially as players, we talk about mental health. Our I would say probably 85% of this football game is mental. Maybe 90. You know, some guys think more, but when you have that, when your mental straight and everything else will fall in place. So I would say I didn't just focus on my physical being in shape. It was a lot to do with my mental as well.
So I thought that was interesting what he said at the end there, that he was focusing a lot on mental health as well as physical. But let's start with, you know, one thing that I think we've learned over time, and I shouldn't say, you know, I did the research or anything, but I think generally speaking, we've learned it's almost like analytics, where you can't just look at a guy's batting average or a guy's touchdown passes and interceptions and say that's it. Just like your weight is not the end all be all. It's got to be, like he said, I didn't want to just lose 10 pounds to lose it. It's like, how do you lose it but be in better shape, be quicker, be just as strong? Like that's the ideal thing, right? It's you want to be a healthy losing weight or a healthy gaining weight if that's what you need to do. So there's a lot of sports science that goes into it. I just felt like I was looking at a very content, healthy, driven Jeffrey Simmons, and I'm thinking to myself as he's talking today about some of the moments where the show was all dictated on, wow, Jeffrey Simmons went off at practice and boy, he's not a leader and all these things. He seemed very mature today, and I feel like he is growing into that. Like, this is my team. I'm the centerpiece of this team. I need to act like it. I need to carry that.
I think last year was still a learning process for him, even though I think he did a wonderful job, not only on the field, but as being a leader in his locker room. Because, again, last year he was 1 year removed, you know, from some other veterans that were there, and now all of those guys are gone, and he's the lone, or 2 years moved, and he's the lone guy left from those really good teams. And last year, I think, really, when he really stepped into that role as a leader, it still was a learning process for them. This year, he comes in. For one, I mean, the dude still look good. If he'd lost 10 pounds, I can't tell. Yeah. You know, but he looks good. He's ready to play. He feels more, I'm not going to say content, because I don't think he's content. I don't think he's content until he wins a championship. So I don't think he's content or satisfied. I think he feels comfortable in the space that he's in now. And what they've added around him on the defensive side of the ball, and what he sees from you know, Cam Ward. I think he feels comfortable really truly being the leader of this team, period, now. Because he sees this team in a different light. I think he sees the vision of Borgonzi. He even talked about, you know, him spending time with Borgonzi in the offseason, talking to him. So he sees that vision clearly. And I think he's going to try to do everything in his power to make that happen. But he also knows that they made the right moves with the guys that they brought in to surround him on defense. I'm just talking about on defense. And I just saw a guy that feels so much more comfortable. He doesn't have to worry about the contract. He doesn't have to worry about, no, Jeffrey has proved that he is the best defensive lineman in the National Football League at this point, interior guy at this point. So he just seems comfortable. He seems like a guy that's on a mission. And it's almost like he can't wait to really get into games, because he wants to truly see how this whole Saleh process sort of works itself out with the plays and playing next to Franklin Myers and some other guys. So he heard it and he sees the vision, but he can't wait for it all to come together, and he gets an opportunity to really showcase it.
We're going to talk about that in our next segment, is how different the defense. That was that first clip we heard about, is what will change with the way because the defense, they are going to play differently. Mm-hmm. Robert Saleh defense doesn't blitz that much. In fact, they blitz the least of any team in terms of percentage of the time, about 23%. Very different than how the Titans have gone about it. And quite honestly, they've had to blitz to get any heat on the quarterback the last few years. And they're hoping that they've got that fixed. So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. But I think you make a great point. He looked comfortable. He looked at ease with being out front, the leader. He wasn't defensive about any questions, and I think that is shows a lot of maturity based on before when he had, I think rightfully so, people were questioning, is this the right guy to be the leader of the team? I'm curious if fans and our listeners feel that he has grown up some. And the contract might have something to do with it. 615-737-1025. He really was appreciative that it went smooth because right now there's some big, and there are every year, but there's some big name guys that are at camp but not playing. Jahmyr Gibbs, now it's early, maybe it'll get done tomorrow, but I think there's a big contract discussion going on at running back with Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs in particular, they're going to get paid. They've been extremely productive at a position where a lot of people are like, oh, you can't pay the running back. You can't pay the running back big money.
Well,
it's not worth it. You can not for those guys.
Yeah.
Right. There are exceptions. You pay those guys. I think that's what we've learned with Derrick Henry. Is he worth every penny that people have paid him?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so.
So what do you think? What did you think about when he talked about having John Franklin Myers next to him and winning one-on-one matchup? And he says, finally, I got somebody. He didn't say I finally. He said I got somebody next to me that if they're, trying to take me out, he's going to beat he's going to beat the single coverage, and we expect that. He expect that of me. Do you think that was any shot at the guys last year, or do you think he was just saying, hey, listen, I just can't wait. I got a guy that I believe is going to win one-on-ones, and it was just talking about the guy on his team now and not necessarily referring back to the guys that were next to him last year?
That's the perfect segue into our next step. We're going to talk about that next. We're going to hear a little bit of what John Franklin Myers said about that and his role in the defense, and we're going to get into what is different about playing in the Robert Saleh defense. How does that affect the defensive linemen? How do they go about it, and how can it help the Titans? So stay tuned. We'll get back to that, and we want to hear from you on our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com about just Jeffrey Simmons in general. What do you think of him at this stage of his career? Have you changed one way or the other? Or you can call in and say, I've always been a believer in him. But I know there's been a lot of people that have texted and called the show saying he should be traded. And look, I was in the camp of this guy. If where the Titans are, I thought the best move would be to trade him. And I can't go back on that. I already said it. So I can't say, but look, they've done what they've done. But I do really see the approach. And he looks like he's taken on that approach very well. He's taken to it. I'm the leader. I've got to carry myself well. I've got to be the guy that revolves around. I got to make people better. So what do you think? 615-737-1025. We'll talk about that Saleh scheme and how it affects the D-line. How are they going about it? Next here on DVD.
said some nice things about you. How formidable of a duo do you expect to be?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is to be the best in the league, and that's the best D tackle in the league. That's somebody that I get to learn from. I get to see. I get to watch his craft, how he goes about his business in the meeting room, on the field, what he does extra, and I see it and I understand why he's the best. And so all I can do is do my part. And again, he said it best. He's going to get the slide early, and my job is to win these one-on-ones, and that's what I do. I pride myself on it. We talk about it all the time. We understand that there's going to be a point in time where they start sliding to me, and we already know he's going to win his one-on-one. So, again, the expectation is through the roof, and we're going to hold each other to that standard.
DVD coming back here on 102.5 The Game. We're talking Titans and training camp. And our coverage, of course, is coming at you, as always, from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. That was John Franklin Myers of the Tennessee Titans, newly acquired free agent to play alongside of Jeffrey Simmons on that front four for Robert Saleh. And we have to guess the year of that song. That's Bobby Brown.
Yes.
So DMase, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I know exactly what
that was. Late 80s.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was late 80s, because I remember that in high school. So we got to.
But we're not getting multiple choice today.
Yes, I
Connor
know.
has said you just got to get the year.
So
it's multiple choice, but it's one of the 80s.
So that
years.
was
That's 10.
89, wasn't it? 89,
I think it was.
88,
See, this is
89?
where he tries to guess. This is his trick. I'm on to him. He likes to give you, when the song was out, I feel like was 89, but I feel like the album came out in 88. I feel like the album came out in 88.
Okay. You may be right. The album came out in 8.
Okay.
So did the song come out in 88 too?
The album came out in 88.
The album came out in 88. Okay.
I guess
That was one of those
Yeah, but the
albums that
song
was
was- yeah,
it was big forever, right?
Okay,
It
yeah.
was big
No,
for
it's
like
been-
2
yeah,
years.
I knew it was the late 80s because I was in high school when it came
Oh
out.
yeah. Yeah.
You guys
Or
are tough.
going into high school.
Yeah.
I can't get anything by you
This is
guys.
bringing back the glory days. Donick with the short shorts, Winter Park High School.
I had the Gumby on my head, the Gumby, just like Bobby Brown.
Bobby
You
Brown.
know,
He did have the Gumby.
he had the Gumby. So I had the parts like Bobby Brown. Come on now.
Bobby Brown, that album was cooking for a while. All right. So you heard John Franklin Myers there. Now, one thing he said, if they slide to Jeffrey Simmons, it's my job to win the one-on-one. And the first thing I thought about was when Albert Hainsworth, and of course, we're getting further removed from this, so not everybody can relate. People are like, Albert Hainsworth, that was a million years ago, Willie. Okay, fine. I'm getting older. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But Albert Hainsworth for about 2 years was as big of a force as anybody in football because he would demand double teams and he still was disruptive. But guys like Kyle Vanden Bosch would be probably the number one recipient or beneficiary, I should say. And I think his name was Tony Brown was the other guy.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a no-name guy that they picked up. It wasn't expensive or anything, but man, did he find a niche right alongside of Albert Hainsworth because he could get the one-on-one and break that guy down. So that's what Jeffrey Simmons does is he demands double teams. So John Franklin Myers he's sitting there going, that's my job. That's why you brought me in here. I'm going to beat one-on-ones and get to the quarterback.
Yeah, and this is what he did, his year in Denver. Obviously, he's been in a solid defense before, I think with the Jets. So these are things that he's accustomed to. And this is what they conveyed to him why they wanted to bring him here, because they know that Jeffrey is going to get double teamed and they want someone that can consistently beat the single coverage. And John Franklin Myers believes, that he's proven that and he will continue to prove that, when it comes to playing alongside Jeffrey Simmons. I think a lot of it, how much will, John Franklin Myers, how much of the same player will he be this year than he was last year? Obviously, last year was a really good year for him. And that's one of the reasons why the Titans chose to go out and pay him the money that they paid him. So can he give an encore to what he did last year and maybe even enhance his playing alongside of Jeffrey? Because I don't think he's played with another defensive tackle that has been this dominant.
He mentioned that. He says, I'm really looking forward to this, because he was like, this is the diet. Wherever the matchup is, that's where I'll go. Whatever the team needs me to do, I'll do. I liked his attitude. That's the first time I've ever heard him talk. Now, remember, everything is glorious now because, and he was even asked, why did you come to the Titans? You were on the Broncos, a team that almost won the whole thing. Why did you want to come here? He says, look, rebuild. This is the NFL. This moves really fast. It's not about that. It's about being comfortable and, trying to take the team that you're on to new heights. He was like, rebuild is not something that I thought about that much. So I thought that was interesting. And maybe he's just putting a positive spin on it. But I liked his attitude, and nothing has gone wrong yet. So everybody's in a good mood. Everybody can talk very optimistically about how everything's going to work. But he did seem very secure that what he can do in this scheme is a good fit, because he referenced a lot his time with the Jets. He talked about a lot of these guys, and we did the roll call yesterday. He's hardly the only guy that has played in a solid defense, and that is the whole purpose of why they've got this reunion going. And he said it was almost like coming to the first day of school, but instead of being the new kid, you don't know anybody. He's like, there's 4 or 5 guys.
Exactly.
I'm on a new team, but there's several guys I've already had, history with. So that is making the transition easier for him.
Yeah, it does. And then you got to look at, the things that he was able to accomplish last year. When you talk about quarterback hit rates, he was 11th in the NFL. Pressure rate, he was 19th in the NFL. And
that was a nasty
exactly
defense.
When you talk about win rate, he was 10th among interior guys. So he had a presence out there with the Denver Broncos. Now you get an opportunity to play alongside someone that many believe and has shown he is the best defensive tackle in the National Football League as we speak, based on what he did over the last year and frankly 2 years. And I know that was a sort of an injury plagued year 2 years ago for him. He was dealing with some things, but he still played through all that. And now what you do is you bring in John Franklin Myers, a veteran guy that has been on several teams, that have worked in his defense, know what to expect from the defense, know what the defense and what Saleh expects from him. So it just seems like he is very giddy about getting out there with Jeffrey Simmons and proving why he chose to come here to Nashville. Because, listen, I like when he mentioned I like how he phrased the whole, rebuild stuff. Because, listen, we know some teams, they go through a rebuild. But in this league, and it may be like that this in some other leagues, you can't be rebuilding every year. There has to come a point where you feel we got enough. We're out of the rebuild stage. Now we're sort of making that transition to being a perennial winner.
You got to hope that they start turning that corner sooner than later.
And he looks at it from this standpoint. I get a chance to play with two things. A hell of a defensive coordinator / head coach now, and the best interior lineman in football. I get to play with those two things, or alongside those two individuals. Why wouldn't I come here? And they got a young quarterback, and it seems like they're putting all the pieces in place.
Even if some people think you're full of it, or like you crazy, because hey, the Broncos are a pretty good defense. I like the attitude. I like that. That's what you're trying to get across. You're trying to be part of the culture change that's going to get the team out of the rebuild and into, hey, what can we do? How high can we go here? So let's talk about a solid defense and what it means. And I'm more curious. I'm curious about how you stop the run when you do this. But one thing I've read, I could see it today. I read about it, and then I watched it today. They take the front 4 guys, and they really line up wide. right? Their idea is, and you heard Jeffrey Simmons talking about the first 2 steps and staying in a lane. It's the great thing about it to me seems like, and I'm sure there's plenty of nuances, but the simplicity of it. Get out wide, get in space, and put the tackle or put whatever defensive or whatever offensive lineman is in front of you. Put them in space. And if you're more athletic, if you're quick, if you're doing it right, you're going to win some matchups there. And so the counter question is, well, why doesn't everybody do it if that's the way to do it, right? But it's been very effective for Saleh. But I could see that, right? And so athleticism and quickness and power is what's been stressed. And that's and who was it? Was it either Jeffrey Simmons or Franklin Myers? Maybe they both did. He said, you boil it down to football, and that is, I forget the term that he used, but it was like you're trying to kick somebody's butt one-on-one. I mean, it's like, let's line up where we need to line up, and then let's simplify things. I'm going to beat you straight up, and we're going to play football.
You got to be able to, because this defense relies on, that interior guy getting pressure and collapsing the pocket and allowing those guys from the outside to get to the quarterback. And again, what better 2 guys than than the best interior guy in the league, and a guy that had a damn good season last year. Now they can play off of one another. You're right. It's all gas, no break. These guys
heavy rotation, right?
Rotation, and Jeffrey talked about that. As far as getting used to the rotation.
Yeah, and he said, "Look, I'm not thinking about it today." Exactly. But yes, he said, "Trust the process."
Trust in the process, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to do what Coach Saleh is asking me to do within this system. Once we get into the season, it may shake out a little bit different, but right now it's been tried and proven the way he runs his defense. And even me, I thought like, man, maybe he can say 3 or 4 plays and 3 plays and then you're out the next guy, but can you really stay true to that once you get in the game? Well, it seems like Jeffrey is all in. And if that's what he wants to do during the season and keep it that way, then that's what Jeff is going to do. But it also allows them to really, give it their all and try to get at the passer as quickly and as violently as they can, knowing that, okay, somebody else is going to do it the next play. So because the thing they're not doing is rotating offensive linemen. And right. If we rotate
that's the strategy. That's the philosophical approach is they want to stay with their 5 offensive linemen. Exactly. Everybody's always done that as long as I can remember. You don't rotate offensive linemen in the NFL. But so if you can keep fresh defensive linemen out there and
that can play,
you got to be able to play.
Yeah.
But you hopefully can be the quicker, faster, fresher team over the course of a game.
And I'm excited to see what this D line is going to be. Because Jeffrey mentioned too, like, listen, this team is going to be led by the trenches, the offensive line and the defensive line. So I am looking forward to this sort of revamped defensive line and this revamped, approach to attacking and sideline to sideline. I can't wait to see that on display against another team. And I'm not talking about when they, do this practice with whoever they're going to do it with. I'm talking about in games to see how all of that truly looks with this team, this iteration of a Robert Saleh team.
It's a lot of new guys, but here is the bottom line. The Titans, the last year that they had an above average pressure rate, 2021, which is also the last year they had an above average defense overall. They have not been able to get to the quarterback. So they have scrapped everything. They've got a new plan. They've got a new defense, and it has to be the front four because by definition, they blitz the fewest of any team in the league. So they have to get the pressure with the 4 guys, which is a great way to do it if you're getting the pressure, because the only reason you're blitzing is because you ain't getting there with the front 4. So let's see if they can do it. When we come back, we'll continue. We'll get our 5 o'clock hour going here on DVD. We're talking Titans training camp. We're having a great time. We'll be back out there again tomorrow. Stay tuned. Hour number 3 is coming up. DMase, Vigan, and Donick, final hour of the show, and we are covering Titans training camp. It's presented by Tennessee Brew Works, Parman Energy, and the Music City kickoff game. Parman Energy, your one-stop petroleum solution. Visit parmanenergy.com. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Connor Newt here with you. Connor Newt, the new quarterback of the 6 p.m. hour called simply The Six. The Six. We just heard the promo from him. So he and Parker Kelly will be bringing you an extra hour of action when we are done at 6 o'clock tonight. First day of Titans training camp today. We had a good time. All three of us were out there watching the action. And, of course, front and center stage, Cam Ward had 18 minutes of a press conference after it was over. So it was a big day front and center, as you would expect, for the guy that is more important than any Titan, and it's not even close. So, Derek, for people, we talked a lot about it in our first hour, but for our new audience, maybe just hopping in their car, they want to know what went on today. How do you think Cam Ward looked in day one? We know this is a long work in progress, so today is not the end-all, be-all, but what did you think?
I thought he looked okay. I mean, I don't think I was coming in expecting him to light up the world on, two-a-day practice one. Can you call it two-a-days anymore?
I don't think so.
Mini camp. I just say training camp day number one. You didn't, or at least I didn't expect for him to come in and just complete every pass and look as sharp as a pencil. But he did do some things that I thought were good. I'm sure he probably wish he would have had a few throws back. Not to say that they were horrible throws, but when you go back and watch the film, you probably look at it a little bit different from what you saw out there on the field or what you were thinking out there on the field. But outside of that, I think, he did what you're supposed to do as a second-year quarterback, and he looked okay. I mean,
he seemed very comfortable at the podium. He seemed comfortable running the offense.
Yeah, so I don't think again, we will not know a lot of questions to these, answers to these questions until, weeks down the line. And more so once you start to get into playing other opponents, then we can better decipher between, what we believe is going to stick and what this team could potentially look like and what we believe they may need to get better at. So outside of that, I thought he had a good first day. He may say it was okay. He may say it was great. I don't know. But from my vantage, it was just a good day. Nothing.
Yeah, and he kind of echoed that. Of course, every day you're looking big picture here, but we're going to get into the Daboll offense today because Cam had some things to say about that. We're going to play you a clip in just a moment because you hear all of this stuff about Brian Daboll's offense being, quote, quarterback friendly, catered to younger quarterbacks. Daboll was very excited, made no bones about it when he got the job, that he had scouted Cam Ward. He thought Cam Ward would be a fit for his offense when he was the coach of the Giants, and now he gets Cam Ward in his second year. But let's go over a couple of the news items, and I know you might have heard Connor's update at the top of the hour, but Connor, let's go through just a couple of things. Mitch Trubisky not out there today because
fatigue / he was tightness up north or something like that. Yeah.
So not expected to miss much time, but Will Levis got more reps as a result.
Yeah. Also Hooker got more reps.
And then Hooker was out there a lot with the third group. Connor, also Calvin Ridley. Why was he not out there today?
Severe stomach virus. Apparently he's lost a little bit of weight, but he will be back pretty shortly too.
Sounded optimistic.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh, that Calvin Ridley can still be a didn't build up too much. I want to use I don't know. I can't remember the exact words, but he says he can still run. He can still play was basically it. So I was wondering how he was going to be viewed, and we won't know it until we see it on the field there. But I think we're all curious, what version of Calvin Ridley are you getting at this stage?
Yeah.
Coming off a very severe injury.
Yeah, from last year. And, camp doesn't start the way he wanted it to start, meaning because he has this virus. And, wasn't able to be out there with the guys, and don't know if he's going to be out there tomorrow or not. Or hopefully he is, which means he's getting better, or he is better. But I think Calvin Ridley, because of I think it's a prove it year for Calvin Ridley. I really do. I think it's a prove it year from this standpoint. And this may dictate what they do with him contractually moving forward. If he comes out and he proves to be a bona fide legit number 2, which I think in a perfect world, that's who he is. I think
meaning Tate would be the number 1.
Yeah, Tate would be the number 1, and Ridley would be the number 2. I think in a perfect world, at this juncture in his career, from what I've seen, he is better suited as the number 2, and he will be a damn good number 2 if he stays healthy.
With Robinson being the slot specialist,
Robinson being the slot specialist, and then obviously Carnell Tate on the outside. So I think this is going to be a year where he has to prove, because I don't want this to be a slight to Calvin Ridley if he may hear this or somebody else hear this and go back and tell him. But I think at this juncture of his career, he's a number 2. I think that's where he will thrive or be the best version of himself. Now, if Tate got to go out a player or 2, or God forbid he gets injured or miss a game or 2, I think then Calvin Ridley can slide into the number 1 and be your number 1 until your actual number 1 comes back. But I think if you want to maximize the most and he wants to prolong his career, he has to show that he is a bona fide, not a maybe he can be a 2, maybe. No, he needs to prove he's a bona fide number 2.
Okay, let's go back to Cam now, because this does sound really, and here we are again. It's still July.
Yeah.
Nothing has disrupted the hope, right? Everybody's undefeated.
Yeah.
That was John Franklin Myers about the rebuild. He goes, hey, we're all 0-0 right now. There's no rebuild. There's nobody that's good and bad. And that definitely happens. But now we'll see when the stuff starts flying, the live stuff, whether they can keep this attitude. But there's a lot of optimism. And here's what Cam Ward had to say so far about working in the Brian Daboll offense, because you visualize all these things. Could it be? Could Calvin Ridley be a good number 2? Can Carnell Tate be what they hope he would be, number 1? Can Wan'Dale Robinson be the good third down security blanket? All of these things that you hope come together. But it all starts with Brian Daboll and Cam Ward. Here is what Ward said about his new offensive coordinator.
You had mentioned working with Daboll. That's something that you've really come to realize, the third down importance. What was different from before to now? Just what led to that revelation?
I just think the system. It's a young guy system. He gives us a lot of freelance, not only myself but the receivers, to do as we feel space wise. And I just think he's putting us just schematically in the best situations, looking at things the defense does to give leverage for the wideouts, to make sure I don't have to move as much in the pocket to help the O-line out by getting the ball out faster. So I just think he's just making me a better football player each and every day.
All right, so let's go through the wide receiver translator here, and let's get DMase. How do you interpret what Cam Ward said? Because a couple things jumped out at me, because everybody's been talking about this. They need to get the ball out quicker. That seems to be a big point of emphasis. He also said it's like a young man system. It's a young player system. He said freelance in there. What do you think that means?
I think
for him,
you have the flexibility. That's what it means. Because I go back.
You think there's less jargon? You think it's less complicated?
It's not less complicated. It's not less jargon. Everything's going to be the same. The plays are called the same. But I remember having this conversation with the late Mike Heimerdinger years when I was here. And, his thing was, listen, you and make sure whatever y'all do, make sure y'all two are on the same page, meaning you and Steve, whatever. I don't want you to completely go outside the confines of the offense and start making stuff up on your own. But within the construct of the offense and the plays that we're running, you have leeway as a player. But you only have leeway is if you and the quarterback understand what the leeway is. You can't be doing your own thing and the quarterback think you're doing something else. I think that's why Mac and I were so successful together. That's why myself and other quarterbacks were so successful together, because even in that, freelance, and Neil O'Donnell would tell me the same thing. Neil was one of the first guys, and I talk about this all the time. Outside of Dave Craig, which many people don't remember, that was my rookie year. Willie, you remember? I don't think you remember who Dave Craig is. Do you know who Dave Craig is, Connor?
DMase, you weren't even here when I was born.
Yeah, I'm down. See, he don't even know who Dave Craig is. But no, when Dave Craig was here, he was one of those advocates for me. He was always trying to give me the ball, always making sure I was working. And then once Neil came in, he and I built a rapport because he was in the second unit, I was in the second unit. But his thing was get open, man. Get open, and whatever you do, do it quickly. So I can see it, I know it, and I can throw the football. Don't be sitting there doing all this other stuff, and I got to try to figure out what you're doing. We both got to be on the same page. And that's what Steve and I built. We built that, listen, we're going to be able to do what we need to do, but there are some flexibilities and some leeway within the offense that we're running. We're not robots. I repeat, we're not robots. Just because they draw it up on a chalkboard or the whiteboard or whatever you want to call it, doesn't mean it's going to go that way. Defenses move in real time. Defenses fool you in real time. So you have to be able to adjust. And if adjusting means, having a little leeway or freedom to do certain things, you can have that. But you better make sure y'all are on the same page, because y'all ain't on the same page enough with that freelance and stuff, because y'all haven't figured it out. That's why quarterbacks and receivers, man, that's why you see these combinations that are so good, because they know one another. They know when he may cut the route down. They know when the quarterback wants it high. They figure this stuff out. They are able to adjust within the routes that are called.
I still think because so many of this is new to Cam Ward, he's so young. You've got a guy in Carnell Tate that is a rookie, that I don't know that it's going to start off the way it's going to finish. I would hope that you see improvement over the course of the season. But I do like the concept. One of the things that Daboll seems to be unique with is he is not a guy that just runs a system and says, here's my system. This is how we're going to play. Whoever I have, I don't really care who the players are. This is what we're going to run. It's more, from what I understand, I cater my system to the strengths of the personnel that I have. And it takes the right mind. And I heard the MMQB guys talking about this. He said it's one thing to be a play caller where I can draw up the play and I can say, in a perfect world, this is where the X guy goes. This is where this guy, he's going to run this pattern. And it should all work out, as opposed to really understanding, instead of just drawing it up, just really understanding why a play works, why the play is drawn up that way. And I think that those are the best play callers. And I think, I hate to say it, but this was a big criticism of the predecessors to Daboll, is it just never seemed like they were one up on people. And it's hard when you don't have the horses, right? But yeah. I'm hoping I see a difference with the Daboll offense, that he really has a deep understanding of how do I bring out the best in what I have to work with.
Cam said something during the press conference that I think I'm sure everybody heard it and understood it. He said that, because I think the question was asked, how have you gotten better and everything like that? He said, Daboll is asking me to see the offense, not just through my eyes, but through the offensive line eyes, the receivers' eyes, the tight ends.
Deep understanding.
Exactly, because that means what everybody's doing. And if you see a certain coverage, what he's supposed to be looking at and what he's supposed to be doing, so you can anticipate on the route being ran. Is it going to be cut short? Is he going to break it in because it's single high? Is he going to run the post because it's split safeties? These things now, because now you see it through the lens of not just yourself, but you see it through the lens of the offensive lineman. More importantly, you see it through the lens of the guy that you're throwing the football to. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was encouraging, because the quarterback is the one guy on the team that has to know what everybody, and I mean everybody, is doing.
And I would think that's going to take some time before you really get to that level, especially because the offense is new
Yeah.
in your second year and you have new players. But Cam did refer to that today. He does feel like he's like, I would imagine this is true. You get better at watching film. You get better at knowing how to study, how to watch film. We had a conversation going on amongst us just watching the practice today about some of the little inside clips we saw with Brian Callahan, and we discussed it on our show a couple weeks ago with Adam here when the series first came out. You know, you try to, like, I don't understand how that works. I have done plenty of film study for basketball, say, not for football. But you probably were way better at being efficient and studying film after a couple years as opposed to when you first got in the league,
Yeah,
right?
because some things when you come in, all depends on how things were taught to you in college. And I was fortunate enough, especially my last 2 years, I was fortunate enough to have a bunch of guys that had spent time in NFL buildings that were coaches in the NFL, and it was led by Nick Saban. So there were ways that they wanted us to watch film, so to speak, and what to look for in actually what you're looking at. And when you come to the NFL, it's still all brand new to you, and it's still just like a blur running past you. And that first season, you're just trying to take it all in. And that second season is when typically you see that jump for guys. And a lot of that isn't necessarily because of physically what they did. Now they're going to work out. Just about every guy wants to work out hard after their rookie season or after the season prior to make sure physically they come in and be in tip-top shape and ready to go. But it's that mental progression that you make from year one to year two that helps helps the game slow down, helps you understand things and see things a totally different way. And it allows you to look at film in a totally different way because now you know exactly what you're looking at. I think Cam said this, either was it during the Netflix thing or Tubi was one of them where he said, like last year, I didn't like a lot of stuff. That was my first time seeing it.
Right.
It was my first time seeing those defenses. And he's right. It's a lot of people. When you're a rookie, a lot of things
The games seem to be going very fast.
Exactly.
When that's the case, right?
Exactly.
The game, and I think anybody who's played, when you get to a higher level, I think it always seems like that at first. That things are going, boy, this is faster. The players are faster. The level's faster. Everybody's good. How do I slow the game down? And that's understanding that part of it, knowing how to watch film.
But that comes with
watching film and doing the reps. Hopefully things will slow down for Cam this year. If he portrays that, I think the numbers will be better. How much better, we'll see. But there you go. Optimism is high.
Yes!
It's July 29th. Everybody's undefeated. All right. When we come back, we'll do our little change of pace segment today. And Derek is going to take a look at another team, another story around the league that has relevance to a Titans fan. The Ravens. Derek used to play there. He's played for John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is not the coach of the Ravens for the first time in a long time. Yes, they do. They play the Ravens. In fact, they play that whole division. And so how the Ravens are doing pertains to the Titans. We're going to talk to DMase, his thoughts about the post-Harbaugh Ravens. What do they look like? That's coming up next here on DVD. Nice. Good call, Connor. Hollow Notes. Written by Warren Pash.
Early 80s.
East Nashvilleian. I've met Warren through some mutual friends. This is like he still makes money off of this song.
I remember bumping to this in my living room.
Yeah.
My parents would play it.
That's right.
Hall & Oates.
So, probably part of the reason he still makes money because I love Hall & Oates.
Hall & Oates is awesome. Well, they still are kind of on the outs, the two. The last I checked, right?
I don't think they like each other.
Have they
too
made
much.
up?
Yeah.
They haven't made up? Come on,
I
man.
don't think so.
The world would be a better place if they get back together.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
First the Fat Boys break up. Now, Hall & Oates. You know?
That's a great 80s reference there. You got to know the 80s to know the Fat
80s,
Boys.
Yes.
Okay, so what year is Private Eyes?
Early
I know.
80s?
It's definitely early.
81.
I think you're right. I'm going to go. We agree. Yes, DMase.
Yes.
We are pitching a perfect game right now. I don't want to hold on. Knock on wood.
Yeah,
Coach
don't say
Willy,
anything.
you're not supposed to say anything. But we have gotten every one of these so far to the year. We'll see if we can go perfect next segment. All right, it's time for our little change of pace segment here on DVD. We've talked heavy Titans, but we want to give you a topic each day that it's an outside the bubble of the Titans, a league issue that will have some relevance to the Titans, or as Adam likes to say, Titans adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to use that vocab.
Yes.
So the Ravens are coming, or wait, where do they play that game? The Titans play in Baltimore week 4 of the season.
Early.
And we know among the bitter rivals of the Titans, nobody has given the Titans more pain than the Ravens, although the Titans do have some victories in the playoffs over the Ravens as well. But one thing we know about the Ravens, going back to 2008, which was John Harbaugh's first year, and Derek Mason was on that team, John Harbaugh's first team. Since 2008, he has been the coach of the Ravens. And the Ravens beat the Titans, the number 1 seed in the AFC that year in the playoffs, in a very painful game if you were a Titans fan. Almost as painful, but not as painful as the one that DMase played for the good guys back in 2000, where the Ravens beat the Titans. But Baltimore, during Harbaugh's tenure, was one of just 6 teams to make the playoffs at least 12 times. And they finished 500 or better 15 times over that span. Only the Steelers played more winning regular season football. Now, we know that's not the end-all, be-all. The Ravens, they did get to the Super Bowl and win it under Harbaugh. So it's a new era for Baltimore. It's one thing that you can count on every year is even if they weren't great, they were always relevant. They're always in the mix. And sometimes they've been really, really good. So what do you think this is going to look like with Jesse Minter, who does have Nashville ties? He was on the Vanderbilt staff for Clark Lee not too long ago.
You reminded me of that yesterday. I'm like, was he?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm curious myself what the identity looks like. They still have Lamar Jackson. They still have Derrick Henry. So there will be some old standbys there. And they are predicted to be among the contenders in the AFC North, which is the division the Titans play, head up. So they will play the Ravens, the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Browns. So what do we think post John Harbaugh? What do you think will be the same? What do you think will be different?
I'm sure, from an offensive standpoint, it'll look different because the offensive coordinator is different. He's the head coach with the Cleveland Browns. So I'm sure it will be different. And I think that's what you're hearing coming out of that building, that things are different at least offensively from what it has been or what it was last year under Harbaugh. But like any team, how can you overcome the losses of individuals that were paramount to your team's success throughout the years? Tyler Lindenbaum, Isaiah Likely, guys like that were big parts of you winning during those, 3 or 4 years, the last 3 or 4 years. So how does a team like that replace one of the better centers out there? And Isaiah Likely has turned into a hell of a tight end. Now he's with the Giants with Harbaugh. And there are a couple of other guys. It's crazy how that happened, but there's a couple other guys on that were on that Baltimore Raven team that is now on the New York Giants team. You talk about George Stout, who's the punter. He got a 3-year deal. Pat Ricard, who was there, do it all, fullback. He's inked a 2-year deal with the Giants. One of their safeties did the same also. So how do the Baltimore Ravens replace those guys? Will you can Derrick Henry continue to run the way he has been running? I think he can. I will predict over 1,400 yards from Derrick Henry once again.
So you think he's still got another big year in him?
I think he does. I only thing that's going to slow this guy down is him retiring, or he's suffers an injury. That's the only thing slowing this guy down, because he is a one of one.
And he had a couple of uncharacteristic fumbles that hurt them. Remember, they dug a hole last year. I think they were 1-5 at one point. I know they lost 4 in a row early, and they couldn't. It was really weird with the Bengals losing Burrow. It was part of a strange year in the AFC, because the Ravens were fighting from a deep hole that they never really got out of. They didn't make the playoffs. The Chiefs, of all people, didn't make the playoffs.
Yes.
And Burrow and the Bengals never could recover from not having him. Well, they couldn't survive until he got back. It was too late. And so you had those three teams
out of the
that
playoffs.
Seemed like they're there every year. None of them were there.
No.
So is it just as simple as if Lamar stays healthy, they'll be back in the playoffs?
I think I think that's part of it.
Despite not having Harbaugh.
I think because this is a mark. And this is where we hope the Titans, they were once there. We just hope that they're finding their way back to being this type of organization. No matter who sits at the head coaching table, the goal, the culture is the same, no matter what. Why? Because the players said it. And when you have guys like Ed Reed, and Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs and Jonathan Ogden that come through that place. And then you have Lamar Jackson and some of the other guys that have been successful, Joe Flacco, even, what's the kid's name? Oh my goodness. Anquan Bolden, even Anquan Bolden. There was a standard already set. So no matter who you bring in here, as coach, there's a standard set throughout the building. The coach and the players must hold to that standard, no matter what the issue is. Or what the situation is. So adding Jesse Minter, he's been there before. Jesse Minter was with the Baltimore Ravens before. So he understands the culture. He understands what the owner wants from his team, from this team. And that's what you're not going to see. I don't think from a culture standpoint or how they play football is going to change. They're always going to be aggressive. They're always going to run the football down your throat. They're going to try to take the game to you. Can they do it, continue to do it without Tyler Lindenbaum, Isaiah Likely, guys that were critical to the success that they had? And then obviously your quarterback has to stay healthy. I think the wide receiver position is a pretty good position. I think Zay Flowers is going to be really good. I think he's going to add on to what he has already been able to do. They get Nande Madubuike back. He's been sidelined because of that neck injury, so he's now back in the fold. What kind of player will he be? I think he missed a year and a half, almost 2 seasons, because of this injury. It may have been a year and a half, but all of these guys are coming back. Only thing then they bring Trey Hendrickson in. So you got all of these guys that now you add to a team that culture, the way they play, the identity is still the same. It's just different coaches. But you got to keep your quarterback healthy. If you don't keep your quarterback healthy, it's going to be hard for you to win with any team. If your franchise quarterback goes down, unless you got a backup that's capable of winning, it's going to be very difficult for you to win.
So here's my question. What version of Lamar Jackson are we going to see? He's hit 30 years old. Last year, he didn't just miss the 4 games. It's when he played, he was not quite himself. I think he was battling through some things. And this is a general, we used to make this observation about Steve McNair. As he got more mature and older, he didn't need to run as much. He didn't look to run as much, and he got better every year as a passer. I think you could say that about Lamar Jackson, right? He's gotten better each year as a passer. But the weapon that separates him is his ability to make not just good runs, but game-changing runs.
Yeah.
For example, last year, or going into last year, he had averaged more than 30 rushing attempts of 10 or more yards. So 30 or more 10-plus yard runs. I mean, and a lot of those, a lot more than 10,
Yes.
right? We know we can envision it. Last year, it really went down. He only had half of that last year, just 15. And, of course, he's got a new coach. So how much is he going to run? Like, I think fantasy owners are probably interested in that too, because that's always been something that's been a nice little bonus. If you have Lamar Jackson as your fantasy quarterback, you get those running yards and those running touchdowns.
Yeah.
So does he go back? Like, he only ran it 67 times last year. The year before, over twice that, 139. The year before that, 148. So is he done being that runner for good? Or if he's feeling better, is he going to get back to the Lamar of what we've seen in the past?
Well, I'm just going to tell you what Kyle Hamilton said, is that he feels Lamar has gotten faster. And
That's
if he's
scary.
gotten fast, that is totally scary. Lamar Jackson is an excellent passer. He's an excellent runner. What you said about him last year, what you just said about his play last year was right. He just didn't look like the Lamar Jackson that we were accustomed to. It didn't look like he really wanted to run. It looked as if he was very cautious with everything that he did. And hopefully for the Ravens' sake, that he doesn't come into camp or doesn't come into the season as that same quarterback he was last year, because a lot of stuff I'm sure he was dealing with injuries, he missing games. He just wasn't quite what we thought, from an NFL world, we thought he was going to be. But it seems like, just like Cam Ward, just like Jeffrey Simmons, they feel they got a new lease on life. They feel they got a new coach, a guy that's bringing some new, fresh ideas in. So Baltimore, they're hoping it works for them, just like we here in Nashville are hoping that, things work for Saleh in a way where this team is winning more games than they're not.
When we come back, we will have our final segment. We'll see what the Ravens look like. Tomorrow we'll have a new topic, and it will have to do with the running back position around the league. Remember, people used to say not too long ago, you don't want to pay running backs.
No.
You don't need to pay running backs. But what if you have the best running backs? That's what's going on right now contractually with the Lions and the Falcons. Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, they are both holding in. That's the new fad. You don't hold out. You show up so you get paid, but you don't go on the practice field until you get the deal. But what do you pay those guys? We're going to talk about that tomorrow here on DVD. When we come back, speaking of getting paid, Macklin Celebrini, he's 19 or 20 years old now. Has he turned 20 yet? Maybe just 20. I'm pretty sure he can't walk into a bar with his real ID and get in. But he's a very rich man as of today. We're going to talk about that and the ramifications of what the Sharks did today as we continue to wrap up the show. We've got a lot coming here on DVD, so keep it right here on 102.5 The Game. All right, time to tell you about Twice Daily, brand new sponsor on our show. I shouldn't say brand new. They've been around a few weeks now, which is exciting, and we're glad to have them aboard. And what are they known for? They want you to know that if you go to convenience stores and you make it twice daily, you're going to benefit from that. Make that be your go-to because they have a tremendous rewards program. The Twice Daily Rewards program unlocks special discounts, savings. You can enter into the sweepstakes and a lot of other ways that it pays to be a member of Twice Daily. You're going to earn the points. That's what you accumulate, and you use those points to advantages that save you money with every visit. So if you're looking for convenience, Twice Daily has you covered. And if you had that crazy day, I always say that this time of night, if you're heading home from work and you're saying, what in the world are we going to do for dinner? I need something quick. Keep in mind, Twice Daily has the hot, fresh pizza that you can order ahead of time. You can order in the store. You can even get it delivered to your home. It's one less thing to worry about it, and you've got great discounts involved. $6, two slices for $6, $2 off whole pizzas. They've got all kinds of benefits if you're part of the Twice Daily Rewards program. It's Twice Daily, fresh all day. Oh, we've had a fun show today on DVD, and now, look, the pressure's on, okay? We're going for the perfect game. Connor Newt has tried to slip by fastballs in our wheelhouse, the 1980s. No multiple choice. We just have to get the year of the song. I did okay in the 90s yesterday, but I slipped a couple, and I didn't finish strong. I missed the last one. I'm still stinging about that. Was off by 1 year. To DMase's challenge. I challenged DMase the day before with the 2000s, and he passed with flying colors. He missed the first one and then finished on a roll. Did not miss after that. The Beasties, this was a huge album.
Yes.
Huge. I think I know it.
Still holds up, too.
It does.
Because it was a big year. It was a big year in the Donick house, at least for me. Because the Mets were on top in this year. The Mets were on top.
You talk about what, 80s, late? What was it?
They've only won it once in a long time.
Yeah, so
it was this year. And I feel like that's the year that this album came out. It's the album, right? Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Licensed to Ill.
I mean, did anybody not have this album?
Did you know what the album cover was?
It's a plane.
You think it was
Back of a plane.
You think it was?
I think so. Well,
see, he doesn't know.
I'm not sure he's right. I think it's something else.
It was a plane, yes. Yes,
Well,
it was a plane.
Okay. But I feel confident that this is 86. Am I wrong? Okay,
There we
okay. We can say it now.
There we go.
Perfect score.
History has been made.
History has been made.
Willie has gotten a perfect score.
Perfect score. Is it back to me tomorrow?
Yes.
With the
yes,
music?
it is.
Oh,
Tomorrow,
boy.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We got to come up with
what
something.
year you think you're coming? Or are you going to go something totally, you're going to go do different from the year? Or are you going to do something else? But we still have to guess.
I think there'll be something you have to participate in.
Okay.
Okay. I'll wrap my brain about that or around that a little bit earlier.
70s
Or
we
later.
kind of suck in.
70s. No, I'm not going to go 70s.
Yeah, I'm
on
not.
you.
I maybe
Yeah.
can get a few of them.
I love
Right.
the 70s
Yeah.
stuff, but we're going to have to come up with something, a good wrinkle to
Yeah.
this game. It's a good game, though. We've had some action on the text line, just some things that we've hit on here. We were talking about Calvin Ridley, missed practice today with a virus, but I had not thought about this. The thing that we don't like, and this, okay, let me just say what the texter said. Ridley doesn't have that explosive diarrhea virus,
Yes.
does he?
I hope he doesn't.
They didn't say one way or the other, but they said he lost some weight and he
I
needs to
pray
get
that
that
he
back.
doesn't. And I'm sure just about everybody is aware of that and what's going on.
Michael said, was it the Taco Bell lettuce?
I stay away from lettuce for now. For now, I am no lettuce. And I cook my vegetables. So there you go. So let's hope he doesn't have that explosive.
Yes. Let's just
Foul
hope
thing.
let's hope that Calvin, without TMI,
Yeah.
not too much information,
Yeah.
he's back on the field and looking good.
Sooner rather than later.
Soon. Yes. Macklin Celebrini today, an unbelievable contract, and they got it done. Connor Bedard is now done, but Macklin Celebrini, who, for those that don't know, first pick in the draft a couple years ago, San Jose Sharks, and he has helped, as Barry Trotz would say, he has accelerated their deep, deep rebuild. I mean, they sunk all the way to the bottom, and I think we've had this debate over and over. I know we have, that you do it out of necessity, and you hope that it doesn't take that long, but we have documented plenty of long rebuilds that take well over 5 years, sometimes 7, sometimes even 10 years before you see it. But when you have a guy like Celebrini, it speeds up the rebuild, and they're still very young, and they are loaded with a lot of young players. It'll be very notable to see if they can start winning with players as young as they've got. Celebrini is going to be 20. I think let's. Hey, Connor, can you look up his exact age, Celebrini's age?
He's 20. He's 20.
So he is not turned 21 yet.
No. Okay. You look at
But he is now the highest paid player. The Sharks signed him 5 years, $18.8 million per year, which makes him the highest paid player in the NHL.
So you
at
got,
age 20.
You have Celebrini, you have Carlson, you have Kaprizov, then you have Bedard. You're talking about 15 million and above. Who is that next?
Yeah.
Guy that may supersede, because like
It is
Celebrini
changed.
is only 20 years old.
The market has changed so rapidly that I think we're only seeing the beginning of this, because all those players, Kaprizov is a little different because he came in from the KHL. He was a little bit of an unknown, and then he hit it big. And so he's in a separate category than Bedard and Carlson and Celebrini. But now what you're going to see is, and the next guy, the easy one that comes to mind is Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid will have 1 year. He signed a 2-year extension. So he's got 2 more years on his contract with the Oilers. But with him being the best guy, he is going to get more than 18.8. So everything is going to be redefined and reshuffled, and it affects everybody, which when it comes to the Nashville Predators, you start thinking about guys like Luke Evangelista, who is eligible for an extension. It's just going to cost more to sign good good players,
Do you
not
think
let
he's-
alone the best players. And the best players are resetting the market because
Do you
McDavid
think-
gave them kind of a hometown discount
Yeah.
for the 2-year extension.
Do you think, what is it, 12.5 a year?
That's what McDavid gets now.
yeah.
Yes.
Do you think he will eclipse the 20?
I think so. I
Hmm.
think so. Because, well, now here's the other part that he has control over.
Mhm.
I feel like he's given the Oilers ample time
Mhm.
to win there, but I think it's to the point. It's getting harder and harder for the Oilers to get better every year. The rest of their players are getting worse. They haven't done a great job of putting the supporting cast
around him,
around McDavid, and of course Leon Draisaitl, the Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan. So if he wants to, he can do the LeBron and just, I'm a free agent. And I don't know if he'll do the voicemail thing where like, hey, give a voicemail to my agent and I'll get back to you. We'll decide who we want to play with.
Let's
but
see what your
he
pitch
could do
sound
that
like.
because the most you can give a player is 20% of the cap. So the cap is going to go up. So by that time, the cap will be, I don't know,
Cap now?
between 100. I think it goes to 131 next year.
Okay.
So it'll be around 140. So it could, I think safely, it'll be over 20 million.
And
per
right
year.
now, the person that is taking up the most percentage is Leo Carlson. He's taking up the most percentage at 17.31. And then Celebrini's at 16.56. So what would, if he stays with his current team, McDavid, or if he goes to another team, what would that 20, would they take it right up to the 20%? Or would they take it a little bit lower than that?
See, that's a good question. It depends on the term, maybe, but I would think you probably have to start with that discussion of like, hey, a lot of teams are going to be budgeting to pay him 20%. So it's a matter of, who do you want to play for?
Yeah.
So could the Predators at that point be a team that's attractive enough for him to consider that? I don't know if that's a goal because we don't know if he'll actually hit the market. He could get traded the year before to a team that he's willing to sign with, when he could have extensions. But that's just one to watch. And he's not the only guy that is going to benefit from this new market. But the players have been very patient. They had to wait out the whole COVID thing and the escrow thing. But now life is good because the cap is going up. So that's just something to note. And Celebrini, by the way, when this contract expires, he's going to be really old, 26. So he's going to be in the prime of his career, ready for another big payday at that point.
Exactly.
If he continues on this path, he's amazing.
If he's 18 now, you're sure by then he's definitely going to be in the 20s if everything continues to go the way it has been for him.
We are going to be back at Titans training camp tomorrow, and we're looking forward to breaking down another day for you. We'll be at the practice, and we'll have all the coverage for you. The 6 is coming up, led by Connor Newt. Will there be 80s music played during the 6, or are you guys going to go with like now that the old guys are out of here, you're going to say, now let's get some real music on?
No, I'm not a fan of, quote, real music, as the kids call it. So,
all right. But what do you got going in the 6?
Lots of Titans talk today. Parker Kelly will join me. Of course, we were both out there. So we'll talk a little bit about Cam Ward and his efficiency in the red zone. We'll talk about Wan'Dale Robinson and how he can help out Cam Ward in short gain stuff. I want to talk about the concerns on the offensive line with the starters being announced as Volson and Schlotman at center and right guard. So, yeah, a lot coming up on the 6th.
Outstanding. We're back with you tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Everybody be safe tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 2.
Be loved, love
3.
on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful day. I love you. The team loves you. You hear that music, don't you forget about us, because we will never forget about you. We're back on these airways starting at 3 p.m. on 102 Vibe, The Game, discussing what we saw at the Tennessee Titans practice tomorrow. And as I always say, we're going to be talking and
you're going to be listening.
Peace.